another minute. And like as you may have just heard, we will be recording this meeting. Yeah, there's still some folks in the waiting room, so we're going to probably give it just another minute. Yes, I see some folks are already introducing themselves in the chat. Go ahead and do so, especially if you've been here before. Okay. We'll have other folks keep an eye on the waiting room. Okay, good morning. Welcome to our October mini general membership meeting. It's not the shortest meeting. We're still going to be meeting for maybe just under an hour, but about an hour or so, but it's certainly a little bit shorter than our normal meeting. And also we're doing this in anticipation of having a longer meeting at the end of this month, our first in-person meeting in some time. But let's start with introductions. My name is Kevin Lee. I am the Senior Programs Manager here at the Coalition. We have with us Hallie Willis, our Community Policy Manager, and Danielle Palmer-Friedman, our Communications Lead. Welcome, welcome. We're very happy to have you with us today. The Seattle-King County Coalition on Homelessness is a member-based organization. And as you know, this meeting is intended to bring people together. It's service providers, community, and government partners alike. And we come together every month on the third Thursday in the spirit of building community, exchanging important and timely information, and of course, offering professional development skills and resources. We are so glad to have you with us this month. Again, we have a very special in-person membership meeting on October 30th. So it's still on a Thursday. It's still at 9 a.m. But we are going to be, we're going to be really happy to have another opportunity to potentially see you again. I can tell from some of the folks in the room, got a chance to see some of you pretty recently at our Truth to Power fundraiser, which was a really fun time. So thank you all for coming to that. If we can move forward to the what we do slide. This slide here just goes over a little bit more detail about what we do and who we are. Encourage you to please take a look. As you heard in the chime earlier, we are recording this meeting. It will live in our YouTube channel. So if I could also have somebody drop our YouTube channel link into the chat. We record all of our meetings and all of our trainings. There is a ton of information there for service providers as well as the community. So we encourage you to subscribe to that channel. We love to see faces. So if you're in a place where you can put your camera on and that feels appropriate today, we love to see faces. You also have the ability to change your name in the little Zoom box. We'd like to know who you are, what your pronouns are, and how you might be connected to the coalition or this work. If you're with the media, we really just ask that you quote or pull information from either coalition staff or if there's an official presenter from them. If there's someone else that you're hoping to connect with, please reach out. You can reach us at contact@homelessinfo and we'll connect you with them for follow-up. And then also, if I could ask somebody to put a link for our email sign up, other coalition email into the chat. Of course, you may already have that sign up since you're here, and that's how we get a lot of these Zoom links and invitations out. And then on that note, if I can have someone, I think it's Danielle manning the slides. Can we go back to the agenda slide? Again, mini GMM, so not a typical meeting. We do have some important stuff that we want to get to, but we don't have a long list of guest presenters. We are going to be focusing, or we'll be discussing voting rights and voting access as Election Day is just around the corner. And then we're going to hear from Hallie Willis, our policy manager, regarding some very important budget updates as well as advocacy action. And then to close, we will have space for member announcements. As always, we invite you to share what you have going on in your world with us and everyone else here. And now, switching back, I'd like to ask someone to volunteer and read out our mission, vision, and values. If There is a raise hand function if you're feeling brave this morning or feeling like you want to read out. They are on the screen right now. In the interest of time, we'll move forward. Our mission is we mobilize our community to challenge systemic causes of homelessness and advocate for housing justice. Our vision is a region that acts on a shared sense of responsibility to ensure that everyone has a home, and our values are equity, justice, and collective action. So we do like to take a minute and read out our mission, vision, and values because they're not just words. This is work that you are all putting into action. And so, with that, let's move forward to our announcements. I think it's Danielle who's running the slideshow. If you want to move forward. Oh, let's with that picture. So let me jump ahead to that one. So many announcements for us to share, but the photo you're looking at right now is of Seattle Center this Saturday, October 18th, as part of a countrywide No Kings demonstration. There will be rallies across the country. This is a peaceful day of action to tell our federal government that we will not tolerate autocracy in this country. And so the coalition is attending the No Kings rally to send a clear message: hands off of our homes, hands off our voting rights, and hands off our democracy. That little star there in the northeast corner of the fountain lawn is where we will be meeting other members, hopefully folks in this room right now, as well as you know, community members connected to us. We're really looking forward to seeing a lot of folks out there. Look for coalition staff, look for a coalition banner. We'll be making signs about homes and shelter. And it starts at 11, or we'll be there at 11, excuse me. Sort of sign making party will be at 11. The rally officially starts at noon, and then the march starts at 1 o'clock. They have not released details on the exact march route, which makes sense, but we are anticipating that it'll go towards downtown. So please join us for some or all of it. We would really love to see you. Moving back, oh, and thank you, Danielle. And here are some other rallies that are happening in our own region as well. So if you're not able to make it to Seattle Center, or you're joining us from somewhere a little bit on the north end or the south end of King County, please check out this list on this slide here. You might find a rally happening really close to home. Okay, thank you, Danielle. Back to our announcements. So I mentioned it a few times, but here is some more. Here are some more details on our in-person membership meeting on October 30th. It's a Thursday. It is from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. This is co-hosted with the Coalition Ending Gender-Based Violence. It'll be at the Langston Hughes Performing Arts Center. Let's see if we can get you an address. I'll see if I can. I'm going to put this into the chat right now. Although you could, of course, always search Langston Hughes, Seattle, or Langston Hughes Performing Arts Center, and you will be able to find it pretty easily. We're in the Grand Hall. Once there, we'll dive into the intersection of homelessness and gender-based violence, help service providers, advocates, and community members better navigate both systems and understand the resources that are available to people with complex needs. We look forward to taking some time to meet and learn from each other, to better serve people experiencing homelessness and gender-based violence, and to advocate for expanded resources in our community. So if you haven't registered, let me go ahead and put the registration link. My apologies. I think I was meaning to do that before the address. Both are important. If you don't register, but you have the address, you will be welcomed. Don't worry, although we would love for you to register. Oh, and Hallie is correct. So Hallie will be hosting, of course, along with myself and our partners at the Coalition Ending Gender-Based Violence, and Halloween costumes are encouraged. It is one day before Halloween. That said, it doesn't have to be too involved of a costume. You don't have to rent anything. You don't really have to do a lot of makeup. There's lots of easy costumes. I'm making it sound easy. Okay, moving forward with announcements. I have to be mindful of time. Our next training coming up is at the end of this month as well, just a few days before that in-person meeting. It's our SSDI, SSI training. Um, this is a free virtual training. It's geared towards frontline providers working with individuals experiencing homelessness with very low incomes or disabilities. Come and learn how to best support people you're working with, how to apply and maintain SSI or SSDI. Excuse me. The training um, will cover an overview, eligibility requirements, like I mentioned, how to apply for benefits, plus learning tips on how to avoid benefit pitfalls that can result in losing benefits. So this is in conjunction with our partners from BLC, who are attorneys who handle these types of appeals, who really do a lot of who get into the nitty gritty and are very familiar with lots of individual cases. That said, this isn't the training won't be a space to work out specific client needs, but get connected to the folks who might be able to support you and a client if you have a specific need. And with that, we are getting close to 9:15, so we are, I believe, still on track. I briefly mentioned as we were getting started that folks can introduce themselves in the chat, so I hope that people took the opportunity to do so. I only see a handful in there, so if you haven't introduced yourself already, please go ahead and do so into the chat. Before I move forward to our first segment about voting rights, I'll just check in with Hallie and Danielle and see if there's anything that I'm missing, and it doesn't look like it.
No, I think that's great. The only thing I'll add is just I put a link to our latest email blast in the chat, and that has much more information about No Kings as well as like other actions that we'll be talking about today. So if you're looking for more information on where you can meet up with us this Saturday, you can find it there. You can always also email contact@homelessinfo.org.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Hallie. I'll just go ahead and put that link right into the chat one more time. Okay, so moving forward, we want to talk about voting rights, of course, as we have the election. Our general election is coming up. Just a few days ago, I was saying it's a month away, and now I'm saying it's 2 weeks away. What's on the ballot? Quite a bit. For King County, we are electing potentially a new executive, council members. Those seats are open. In Seattle, of course, there's a mayoral election, council as well, but there's also the Families Education Preschool and Promise Levy renewal. That's Prop 1. And then also the B&O tax. I believe that's Prop 2. There's also the statewide Washington Cares Act. A couple of these, of course, as you may know, the coalition has endorsed some of these ballot initiatives. Excuse me. The B&O tax reform. This offers some changes to business and occupational tax. It's a proposal that would change Seattle's business and occupational tax so that small businesses that make less than 5.8 million annually in gross receipts would pay less B&O tax, whereas large businesses would pay more. This is expected to raise roughly 80 million to the annual projected human services, housing stability, and more for local and federal budgets. One thing of note is the monies aren't necessarily earmarked or designated, so that's something that we're of course tracking, and we want to make sure that any new revenue is going to the place that it was advertised that it was going. The Washington State Cares Act. This is statewide amendment 8210. I'm reading some notes, so Hallie, if I have any of these mixed up, please feel free to chime in. Going into election timeline, how can people register to vote? When will people get their ballots? When do they have to submit their ballots? So I'm curious if I should put this into the chat, and I might do this after I go through everything. But just looking at our calendar, Voter pamphlets have been mailed as of 2 days ago. Ballots have been mailed as of as of yesterday. So if you haven't received a ballot by this coming Saturday, definitely call King County Elections. I am going to put this number in the chat right now. It's 206-296-VOTE. Reason why is if you have any voting related question, there are so many that can pop up, not necessarily hard questions, just you have a client that you're working with, a coworker who's got this. That is a phone number to King County Elections where someone picks up the phone. Someone picks up the phone every time I call, trying to figure out specific dates or working out questions about registration forms. It's just a fantastic resource. So Monday, October 27th, or excuse me, so Thursday, October 16th, that would be today, ballot drop box is open. You can locate your nearest drop box following this link. We'll put that into the chat now. There is, of course, the Renton Vote Center, and I don't think a lot of people have their ballots yet. I don't know. I haven't got my mail this morning, but I did not get a ballot yet, so I'm still waiting on mine. October 27th. That's the deadline to register. This is about a week before, is exactly a week before the general election. And so if you still want to register, you want to help folks get registered, just know that after the 27th, the standard online registration or registration form will no longer be valid for this cycle. You can still register the day before. You can also register and vote on the same election day. You just have to make it down to the Renton Vote Center. I think with this much information, I am going to go ahead and just copy and paste this timeline into the chat so people can see. Otherwise, it's just me blabbing for a little too long.
Yeah, Kevin, while you do that, do you want me to talk about the comment opportunity on that federal rule?
Oh, yes.
Okay, super. So sort of along the same lines as voting rights, and maybe before we move on, I'll just highlight this election is really important and people should vote. We're electing a lot of new elected officials. We're electing the first new King County executive in like a really long time. I don't actually, I think it's more than 15 years since we've elected a new King County executive. We're also, we have, two candidates up for Seattle mayor, Seattle City Council, King County Council, and Seattle City Attorney as well. So no matter if you live in Seattle or you live elsewhere in King County, please do take the time to vote. This one is really, really important. And as a lot of what we do at the coalition is we help people to understand their voting rights. We do a lot of work to help people experiencing homelessness register to vote. And one, as we know, the federal government has been trying to come after a lot of our hard-earned voting rights. And there's an opportunity to speak up on that now. So what's happening is that the U.S. Election Assistance Commission is considering a rule change. This is not going through Congress. This is like a separate rule-making process that would require people to show a passport or other documented proof of citizenship before registering to vote. That is voter suppression, plain and simple. And we're asking people to help speak up against it. A lot of, as we all know, a lot of people who are eligible to vote don't have those documents on hand that they can readily show to prove that they are eligible to vote, even though they are, and it is within their rights to vote. So I'll drop the link in the chat. It looks really different from our normal action alerts because it's just going to take you to a federal comment page. But there's a link at the top that says comment. You can submit your comment there. I will grab some suggested language and drop that in the chat for you if it's helpful to have a place to start, that talks about how, requiring people to show their papers is voter suppression, and we don't support it. The deadline to comment on that is October 20th. So we don't have a whole lot of time left to drop some comments on that. And we'll be happy to share some updates at a future meeting about what happens with this rule change. All right.
Thank you.
Kevin,
Thank you, Hallie.
Kevin, anything else you wanted to share about voting rights and sort of the how-to of how people can get connected to voting this season?
No, I mean, I don't want to talk your ear off too much. I did talk through a timeline, which is all bullet points. It's in the chat right now. So if you want to copy and paste that, you can also reach out to us. We're pretty deep into election season right now. The main takeaway is that there is still time to register in every sort of traditional, easy way to do so. If you have any questions about getting someone registered without a traditional address, please reach out. Just know that that is absolutely allowed. You write down where you get your mail. There's a line for that. And then you write down your residential address would be wherever you spend most of your time, because you'd be sent a voter pamphlet representing issues for that area. Without going on for too much longer, I want to make sure we stay on time with our agenda. Thank you, Hallie. I also just kind of want to point out with some of that language that Hallie put in there for that action opportunity to take. Half of Americans don't have passports. When we talk about voter suppression, this is about targeting or really suppressing the voices of Americans, and it's the opposite of representative democracy, and it's also how we know how they get away with policies that are really counterproductive. So I encourage you all to please take that action and have your voices be heard. I see also in the chat, Nancy has put in a link. Looks like an additional action regarding USPS. Oh, yes. I want to speak to it, but I guess I'll have to read a little bit more. But Nancy, if you have something that you want to add towards the end, we can touch back up on it during our community announcements. Staying on track with our agenda, Hallie, if you're wanting to come back on off the mute, we'd love to hear from you regarding budget updates and advocacy action as well.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. It's a busy time, everybody. We are in budget season in the city and the county. And this budget season falls into a really unique context with all the stuff that's going on with our federal government. In particular, you may have heard about some really important funds that are at risk at the federal level called our HUD Continuum of Care funds, or COC funds, as they're sometimes called. I think we mentioned this at a previous meeting, but we've learned some really important updates since then. So what we now know, and just by way of background, the Seattle and King County region last year got $67 million in this HUD COC fund source. And we use 80% of that for permanent housing for people who were previously homeless. So that's permanent supportive housing and rapid rehousing. We also use it for rental assistance, supportive programs, and other things. But really, the bulk of that money is keeping people housed right now. HUD staff, in a Politico article, which I'll drop in the chat in a moment, shared that HUD plans to. We've known for a long time that bad things are going to happen to this funding source, but we didn't know exactly how bad. So what HUD staff shared in this article is that the plan is to limit the permanent housing support to only 30% of the grant. Right now, we use 80% of our grant for permanent housing. That is a massive, massive cut of tens of millions of dollars to permanent housing. They also shared that HUD's plan is to make it harder for communities to get that funding at all if they have at any time recognized that trans people exist, or if they have prioritized funding for marginalized folks, prioritize funding in terms of race or equity or anything like that. So there's sort of a universe of things that could happen. And on one side, you know, they could limit the permanent housing dollars to 30% of our grant. On the other side, they could make us ineligible to apply altogether, and we would lose all of that $67 million that's currently supporting people who are formerly homeless. That would be the worst case scenario. Now, the government is shut down, and this, you know, the application for this grant hasn't been put out yet. So we don't know exactly what it will look like until we see it, but we are trying to prepare for any of those spectrum of possibilities, right? Which, no matter how you slice it, is really, really bad and risking tens of millions of dollars for really important programs. So what we are doing to mitigate that is we are urging Seattle and King County elected officials through their budget processes to make sure that people's housing is supported. So what we really want to make sure is that anybody who's currently housed doesn't lose that housing because of federal, state, or local cuts or policy changes. And anybody who's currently sheltered doesn't lose that shelter because of any federal, state, or local cuts or policy changes. And finally, anybody who does not have a home or shelter because we don't have anywhere for them to go is not punished for trying to survive outside. So that's really the high level message that we are trying to share with Seattle and King County elected officials. And I will invite one of my colleagues to drop that action alert in the chat. We've had a bunch of letters sent already, which is really exciting. So please do send a letter to your elected officials and share this, help us share this around. This is a really, really essential message, especially at a time where Seattle in particular has proposed some significant new spending in their budget, some of which we support, some of which is, you know, not in our bailiwick. And really what we're urging them to do is to make sure that people's homes are supported before they do anything new. So I will go ahead and pause there. I saw there was some stuff coming in the chat, and I'll just pause and see if there are any questions.
We do have a question in the chat. Looks like you might be checking it out right now from Mary. And we also have the action link that Danielle put in the chat as well. If folks want to paste that.
Thanks, everyone. I see the question from Mary. Thank you for that. It's a great question. So folks may have heard about that there's a big lawsuit that King County is the lead on. A bunch of other jurisdictions have also signed on to it that sued HUD for placing illegal contract terms into their last sort of round of COC funds. From what I understand, I'm not a lawyer. I want to put like a big asterisk on this, like I'm not a lawyer. That lawsuit was sort of based on the fact that HUD tried to change contract terms in the middle of a contract. And they tried to do all this illegal stuff in there. So that lawsuit is, from my best understanding, somewhat separate because HUD has now essentially said, oh, you sued us for trying to mess with your existing contract. We're just going to reissue your contract. And if they attempt to do things that are illegal, a lawsuit is a viable path to potentially challenge that. But I want to highlight for folks that there's plenty of stuff that they could do that would be horrible, that would be perfectly legal and within their legal abilities to do. So that I think is just an extra bit of nuance and maybe urgency for our elected officials to act. That not everything that HUD could do that would be extremely damaging is necessarily illegal. Mary, I hope that was helpful in answering your question. Feel free to jump in if you'd have something else to say.
That was very helpful. I for a program that provides permanent supportive housing in Snohomish County. I understand that's not the focus of this group, but I do attend to try and share information. I'm wondering if anyone has read the proposed draft for strategic homelessness and prevention from Snohomish County, and if so, maybe we could connect after this to discuss.
I have not. Again, as you pointed out, our focus is King County, so I'm not super familiar with Snohomish County, but I'll drop my email in the chat if you want to share it with us. You can share it that way. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Maybe I won't invite concerns. We might be here forever. Maybe any questions or comments about what I just shared?
I'm scanning the room for raised hands. I don't see any right now, but folks, yes, if you have questions that come up later, Hallie has put her email into the chat. Just know you can reach out at any time.
Yeah. I'll just wrap up by sharing some just sort of the context of the Seattle and King County budget process. Right now, the mayor and the executive have proposed their budgets and sent it to the Seattle City Council and the King County Council, respectively. The councils are going to work on it for, between here and mid-November. So this is really an important window for us to speak up. And the earlier, the better, especially Seattle's process, the way they've scheduled things this year is moving quite quick. And this is sort of our best chance to influence any changes in the budget. So in addition to sending an email, there will be opportunities to provide public comment. Actually, one of those is happening at the King County Council as we speak. And the best way to stay in touch about those is to join our mailing list and click the sign up for advocacy and actions. And I'll keep folks posted about key points to speak up.
Awesome. Thank you, Hallie. Just trying to make sure. I think we're still close to being on time. We have now time for member announcements. I might be a little bit off on that. Maybe before we dive in, just checking in on the article that was shared from Nancy. And Nancy, if you're open to coming off mute, just to clarify, it looks like there's some new language around postmark, or excuse me, date marking. But don't have the right words with me right now. But postmarks for the mail, this really impacts you if you're returning your ballot on election day. They need to postmark your ballot with the correct date, and it looks like there's some new language that could potentially make it so that postmark might not necessarily reflect the actual day, in which case that means that ballot could potentially be in question. This may very well fall into some of our bigger concerns about voter suppression. And unfortunately, we've seen people take some pretty undemocratic actions before. One sort of bit of advice is to avoid any sort of confusions around postmarking, is just to get your ballot in early. I've been that person where my ballot has been completed and sitting there, and for whatever reason, I have waited till almost the last day or the very last day. It is fun to go to a ballot drop box where there's like a little celebration and people handing candy out. That's how it is in my neighborhood. But let's skip that party and get our ballots in as soon as possible. Nancy, is there anything that you'd like to add about this?
Yeah, I would just say I just heard about this a couple days ago on a Hacks and Wonks episode. Yay, Crystal Fincher. And I don't believe it does not apply to drop boxes. It's for USPS only because they've changed the rule about when they postmark. So they aren't necessarily postmarking them the day you get it in. And it sounds like it could take a few days. So I don't think it's only for people who are sending their ballots on election day. I think they're encouraging people to get your ballot in as soon as possible because they have no idea. Like there's no language around how long it is going to take. They just know it's not going to be as quick as it's been in the past. And so encouraging people to use drop boxes and encouraging people who want to use the US mail, which obviously is more important in rural areas, but still will matter here, but to get them in as soon as possible and not wait till the last minute.
Great. Thank you, Nancy, for bringing that to our attention, and also just really, adding some good detail, because on my quick read, I was like, okay, maybe ballot boxes are in question. But no, Laura in the chat also mentioned that ballot drop boxes, we can avoid that postmark issue entirely. There is also a link that Laura has dropped in there that should show you where ballot drop boxes are located. We're going to move on to member announcements in a moment, but I just see a quick comment from Mary regarding the No Kings protest, and just kind of reading it out. On Saturday, in regards to the president's threats of using National Guard and physicality of law enforcement, I, of course, just want to say out loud, safety is our top priority. We do expect there to be a lot of people at this event. This is a very large sort of gathering. Really, it's a very large, diverse coalition of different people who want to speak out. And so with that, of course, we will be keeping an eye towards safety and making sure that our group is not being put into a situation or avoiding situations where things could get hairy. But that said, please use your judgment and discretion. We want you to be able to use your voice and be an advocate in that way. But that is not the only way to advocate. Of course, there are so many actions to take here just in this meeting, but there's so many other ways to support. So Mary, if you're or anyone is feeling trepidation about joining, but you still want to be involved, please reach out. We would love to get creative and find ways for you to be very much involved either way. Okay, moving on to our member announcements. I don't know if we have somebody from, we were going to have somebody share or read out an announcement from Share Wheel. I'm so sorry, Danielle, maybe you know.
Just Sarah's here representing Share Wheel.
Did you say Sarah?
Just Sarah.
Oh, it's Sarah. Hi.
Hi. Yes, so my name's just Sarah Schroeder, representing Share Wheel today. Basically, we just want to get the word out as much as possible that unfortunately we're experiencing a bit of a crisis. We have two sanctioned encampments, Tent City 3 and Tent City 4, that people may have heard about. And normally the process goes pretty smoothly about finding new host sites for them. But unfortunately for both this time, we do not have locations. So we're just trying to get the word out. If people have any ideas, to contact Share with their ideas. And that you may be seeing action calls to pressure folks to help us find a location. because people without shelter, people die, and sanctioned encampments of people getting together and keeping each other safe and taking care of each other are good things. So, thanks.
Thank you, Jacera.
Sarah, do you have an email or phone number you can share if people wanted to reach out to ShareVeal?
I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you.
Okay.
Another quick community update before we open up the floor to everyone here is the Lake City Partners are getting prepared to open their winter seasonal shelter. Just kind of pointing out the distinction between severe weather shelter. This is more of again, it's going to be open for the season. The process will be through referrals, and it's going to be online through the referral partner network. They will also have self-in or walk-in self-referrals through their day center where the shelter is based. So just knowing that the the Lake City Partners are opening their seasonal winter shelter with also a day shelter. As far as the way to do a referral, I'm going to put a link in the chat. I would think that I think there's over something like 70 orgs that are already part of this referral network. Oh, just tried to copy and paste, but it sent all those election details in there again. Okay. So yes, if you're not already connected to this referral network, please do so. If you end up having clients that are in the north county, or excuse me, north towards Lake City, or maybe they're going that way, a resource to certainly check out. Something to note is that it's not open yet. They are aiming for November 17th, and they say aiming because it's not official, but we're expecting right around mid-November for, again, this is Lake City Partners severe weather shelter. No, excuse me, Lake City Partners winter shelter, not severe weather shelter. As you all know, severe weather shelter information gets released as we anticipate cold snaps or severe weather coming our way. And so with that, those are the last announcements that we have. We want to open up the floor to all of you and our attendees here. If you have anything that you would like to share, this could be announcements, changes, updates to orgs, openings, anything that you would like to share with the broader community. We would love to hear from you. And I will go silent for a moment and let you raise your hands or come off mute.
We'll go ahead and end the recording just to give folks a little more, freedom to chat.